Yo guys, what's up? Gimsor here, coming at you with another patch 2.6.1 Season 12 build guide. I've already done the Unhallowed Essence Multishot Demon Hunter, but I'm going to be doing it again due to some changes that I've made to the build, and a lot of them were thanks to my buddy Zinthric, so shout out to you, man, for suggesting the changes. With that being said, guys, this is, like I said, the Unhallowed Essence Multi-Shot Demon Hunter. This is for speed farming T13 for keys, and it can even be, for Death's Breath farming and things of that nature. So you're going to be utilizing 6 pieces of Unhallowed Essence. That's going to be helmet, shoulders, gloves, chest, pants, and boots. Amulet can be pretty much any amulet you want, but we'll be prioritizing a Hellfire amulet, and we'll go over this here in just a little bit. For bracers, Warzechi, and arm guards, there's several different options here as well, but for the build guide here, we're going to be running these. For belt, you will be running gold wrap. There's other options here as well, but for the sake of the video, we're running gold wrap. For rings, you are running focus and restraint. And then for bow and quiver, your bow is Zhang's recurve, and the quiver is Dead Man's Legacy. Let's go over the build itself, and then we will go over what stats you want on your gear. And before they do that, for your cube here, you're going to have Dawn, Gloves of Worship, and Avarice Band. Avarice Band will be synergizing well with a lot of other items in this build, which one of them is Boon of the Hoarder and your Gold Wrap, and we'll go over that momentarily after we get through the build itself. So, for your primary here, you want Evasive Fire, Evasive Fire Focus. So basically what this does, not only does this proc Focus Restraint, it also helps you increase hatred, or bring hatred back if you need some. Your damaging ability here, Multi-Shot. A lot of people usually run a fire build, but for the sake of this build, we are running physical. So you're going to be running full broadside, which just increases the damage of Multi-Shot by 500% weapon damage. For my one here, we're running Vengeance with Seethe. Vengeance, when activated, is a 40% increased damage, as well as while it's active with Seethe here, you're gaining 10 hatred per second. And keep in mind, to get 100% uptime on Vengeance, you need 36% cooldown reduction, and that's easily obtainable. You just need max percent cooldown on 3 pieces of gear and a max diamond in your helmet. Next here we have Preparation and Invigoration. So the way the build works, Unhallowed Essence is for every point of discipline you have, that increases your damage by 100%. So I have here 83% max discipline, was my maximum discipline, so that's increasing my damage by 8,300%. So why Preparation and Invigoration? Well, as you can see here, Preparation and Invigoration here permanently increases your maximum discipline by 20. So that alone is 2,000% damage. On top of that, Preparation is used if you're using your Vault a lot, which we'll get to Vault next here in a minute. If you're using that ability a lot, you will notice I will start to drain in Discipline here. If you're low on Discipline, you're doing less damage. So Preparation, when you use it, fills that back up. So next here, Vault, as I mentioned, this is for mobility here, and you're going to be utilizing the Tumble rune. So after using Vault, your next Vault within 6 seconds has its discipline cost reduced by 50%. Next we have Companion, Wolf Companion. What this is an active. When you use it, you get a damage increase. So as you see here, active, your Wolf howls, granting you and your allies within 60 yards 15% increased damage for 10 seconds. I'm not very good at the Demon Hunter, so this is situational, and I'd say use it when you feel as though you need more damage. So I'd say fighting elite, a big group of elites, or something along those lines. As far as passives, this build maxes out at a total of 220% movement speed, and part of getting that here is with Tactical Advantage. After using your Vault, you gain 60% movement speed for 2 seconds. For damage here, we're running Steady Aim. As long as there's no enemies within 10 yards, all your damage is increased by 20%. And with the way and as strong as this build is this season, pretty much one multi-shot is going to clear everything in front of you, so there's never going to be anything within 10 yards of you. Nextly here, we're running Ambush. You deal 40% additional damage to enemies above 75% health. What this is basically doing is trying to help you one-shot enemies, basically. And last but not least, we're running Blood Vengeance, and that increases your maximum hatred. And then whenever you pick up a health globe, you gain 30 hatred and 3 discipline. This is nice, especially with synergizing with our Avarice band that I mentioned earlier and Boon of the Hoarder. You're always going to be picking up gold, and with the Avarice band, your pickup radius is going to be a minimum of 30 yards at pretty much any given time. So what's nice about this is anytime you kill an enemy, they have a chance to drop a health globe. So when you pick up that health globe, this is just really nice to help you restore your discipline. You can basically vault as much as you want and never run low on discipline. But if there's a time that you do, like I said, you'll just pop your preparation here and it'll fill it back up. But that's why we're running Blood Vengeance. As far as how the build synergizes, as I mentioned before, in the cube here we have Avarice Band. And like I mentioned, every time you pick up gold, you get a gold pickup radius increase by 1 yard for 10 seconds. This stacks up to 30 times, which is a 30-yard maximum. Now then, as you see here, with Boon of the Hoarder at max rank 50, you have 100% chance on killing an enemy to cause an explosion of gold. And then on top of that, so you're going to be constantly increasing your gold radius up to that maximum of 30 yards. And on top of that, as you see the other secondary there, you gain 30% increased movement speed for 2 seconds every time you pick up the gold. On top of that, a third piece that synergizes well with this is Gold Wrap, especially if you're very squishy. There's other belt options you can run with this build, such as Chrome's Buff Belt, which will give you more movement speed. But I recommend Gold Wrap, especially for new players, because if you're picking up gold, you're basically never going to die. As you'll see here in a little bit when we run through a rift, I will get times, since I'm constantly picking gold up, where I will get close to, say, 100 billion toughness. With 100 billion toughness, nothing in T13 is ever going to come close to even taking a sliver of your health away. So that's why those three things synergize very well. Your Warzetchian arm guards, this also is movement speed as well, and this is great because your multi-shot has such a wide AOE. You're basically, if there's a breakable object within whatever the range of your multi-shot is, you're going to be breaking it, and you're going to be getting that movement speed increase. So with that being said, let's go over the exact rolls you want on your gear. And there are 3 pieces of armor that you want to be getting max discipline on, because earlier I mentioned that max discipline, each point of max discipline is a 100% increased damage for you. And those 3 pieces are bow, chest, and quiver. And when we get to those pieces, we'll go over that. But let's start up here with shoulders. Ideal rolls here are going to be Dex, Vite, cooldown, area damage. But as you see, for the sake of this video, I have Dex, Vite, all-res cooldown, which is fine as well. But to opt for the optimized roll here for most damage output is going to be Dex, Vite, all-res cooldown. And remember, like I mentioned earlier, you want at least 3 pieces with max discipline, or I'm sorry, max cooldown on them of 8%, because what that's going to do, once you reach 36% cooldown, you'll have 100% uptime on Vengeance. Next, on our helmet, you want Dex, Crit, Multishot. That is the ideal perfect roll, but Dex, Vite, Crit chance is fine as well until you find one like this. As for Amulet, any Amulet will do, as long as you have Crit chance, Crit damage, and ideal roll here is Physical Skills, Crit chance, Crit damage. But the perfect amulet here would be a Hellfire amulet if you're wanting to farm even faster, because a Hellfire amulet, so you'd want any of these 4 passives or Hot Pursuit, since you'll be able to run a 5th passive. So Hot Pursuit here increases movement speed by 20% for 4 seconds when you hit an enemy. So it's basically going to be another permanent 20% movement speed increase. So until you can craft a Hellfire amulet or get a Hellfire amulet that rolls well, any amulet is fine as long as it has crit chance, crit damage, but ideally Physical Skills, crit chance, crit damage. As for your gloves, this is another piece where you want cooldown. You want ideally here Dex, crit chance, crit damage, cooldown. But later in the season, if you'd find like a god tier pair of gloves, You could have crit chance, crit damage, cooldown, area damage, or crit chance, crit damage, cooldown, attack speed. Any of those are fine, but just focus on getting crit chance, crit damage, cooldown, because you want to be getting as close to that 36% as possible. Next, we have chess piece, and as I mentioned, this is one of the pieces that can roll max discipline. So your number one priority on your chess piece here, or any of the Hellborn piece or the Unhallowed Essence chess pieces that you find, your number one priority is finding one with max discipline, or putting max discipline on it. The other stats aren't going to even come close in comparison. So getting as close to 12 max discipline as possible is ideal, because as you see here, I have 10 max discipline. The difference between 10 and 12 max discipline, that's 200% damage, so that can add up very quickly. So other than that, once you find one with max discipline, say 12 max discipline, your ideal rolls here are going to be Dex, Vite, All Res. On to the bracers. As I mentioned earlier, since this is a physical skills build, you want physical skills damage, Dex, Vite, crit chance. For the belt, anything here with as much dexterity as possible, but ideally Dex, Vite, All Res, or Dex, Vite, Life, All Res. The reason I'm not too worried about the survivability stats such as Vitality and Life is because, as I mentioned earlier, always going to be picking up gold, which is synergizing with this belt, and you're always going to be getting armor. You could literally have 20 HP, and once you start stacking gold, nothing is even going to take your health away enough to even kill you. So, but you know, if you can get it with Dex, Vite, Life, All Res is fine, but focus on this getting as high a dexterity as possible. As for your rings here, anything with crit chance, crit damage is fine, but ideally, in my opinion, I like damage range, crit chance, crit damage, and damage range is what you see on this ring here, which is 90 to 183. And this scales, you know, ancient or non-ancient, the how high or how low it can go. But ideally here, damage range, crit chance, crit damage, or you could even have dexterity, crit chance, crit damage. Anything is fine as long as you have crit chance, crit damage, and that goes for your restraint as well. Onto the pants. Anything Dex, Vite, All Res is fine, or Dex, Vite, Armor in the case that you have a secondary resist. But just focus on getting as high of dexterity as possible on your pants. Onto the boots here, you want dexterity, vitality, and then multi-shot damage are your the key things to focus on. Preferably here, the higher the dexterity and multi-shot damage, the better. Then you can focus on other stats such as vitality and all res. All right, on to the Yang's Recurve. This was redesigned for Season 12, patch 2.6.1. So not only do you gain a 50% attack speed buff for multi-shot, it also increases the damage multi-shot does between 150 and 200%. This is fine, but you are not focusing purely on this. Your primary focus on this bow, this is another piece, as I mentioned, that rolls max discipline. That's your primary concern first, is getting max discipline. Your secondary concern is getting that multi-shot damage as close to 200% as possible. The next, as you see there, reduces all resource costs by 49%. You want to be trying to focus on get that as being as close to 50% as possible. It's not a deal breaker, but the higher it is, the less hatred you're going to be spending with multi-shot. Once you get one kind of like mine, where you have, say you have max discipline, a good secondary and good resource cost reduction, then you can focus on the other stats, which would be dexterity, percent damage. As you see there, this one has 8%, and then area damage is fine. On to the third and final piece that can roll maximum discipline. This is Dead Man's Legacy, and this has been reworked for Season 12 as well. As you see there, multi-shot hits enemies below 60% health twice, and its damage is increased by a set amount between 150 and 200%. Of course, you want to get this as close to 200% as possible, but once again, this is the piece that you want to be focusing on maximum discipline. So ideally here, you want to be focusing on maximum discipline first, then the multi-shot damage, and then the rolls up above will come after that. And there you want to be focusing on your dexterity, attack speed, and crit chance being as high as possible. Then as you see there, this is the third piece you'll roll cooldown on to be trying to get your 36% cooldown for your 100% uptime on Vengeance. And once you get those main stats, you will be focusing on finding one. So it'd be dexterity, attack speed, crit chance, cooldown, and then multi-shot damage. All in all, this is going to be your toughest piece to find with ideal rolls, but with the way the season's going to go and the way people are going to be able to farm, you're eventually going to find something that's going to suffice and be pretty decent. So once again, the build is focusing on getting as much discipline as possible, which I said before, chest, bow, quiver, and then other than that, it's basically just erasing the whole screen. So the play style is pretty much this. You're keeping vengeance up as much as you can. If you're ever dropping low on discipline, you will use your preparation to refill that back up. And then you're using your companion, wolf companion, situationally, or you can pretty much use it whenever you want, depending on your play level. I use it situationally usually if I get close to an elite, so I can basically just one-shot elites. On top of that, vault here. This is for just pure mobility, and after you use it, as I mentioned earlier, you get movement speed. And then evasive fire. You're using this if you would ever get pretty much on probably every 4 shots a multi-shot or so, because this is not only restoring your hatred here, but it's going to be proccing focus restraint. And then lastly here, multi-shot is your main ability, and you're just going to be mowing over pretty much everything on the screen. And as you can see here, I have 800 points for the sake of this video, and to show how strong this build is. Only 800 points of my total. I don't know what my total paragon is. It's like 2847 or something like that. So we're only going to use 800 of that. So I'm going to have each tab maxed out for utility, defense, and offense. That's a total of 600 points. And then in the core tab, here is 100 for movement speed and hatred. That's 700. And then I have 100 points in dexterity. That brings the grand total to 800 paragon. So without any further ado, I feel as though I pretty much went over the guide. The only things we have left here are your legendary gems, which as we went over, Boon of the Hoarder. Then you will have Bane of the Powerful. And then last but not least, Zai's Stone of Vengeance. And then for the the gems in your armor, cooldown gem in your helmet, and dexterity gems in your chest and pants. So without further ado, let's go in. I'll show you what 800 Paragon can do on Torment 13 here. So once again, keeping Vengeance with Seath up as much as you can. You'll be popping your Wolf Companion situationally when you feel as though you need it. And as you can see here, you can pretty much just vault around, multi-shot, and everything is basically going to get one shot. For the sake of this video, I'm not going to pick up Death's Breath or gear. I just want you to see exactly how fast this build can farm. And as you can see here, we're already getting close to 50% completion on the Rift. And everything just dies in one shot. As long as you're keeping your focus restraint up by using your evasive fire, everything is going to just basically get one shot by your multi-shot. And as you can see, elites are dying before I can even get to them. The build is just overall ridiculous. And I'm not the best at this build. I've seen, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, my buddy Zenthric, he is really good at Demon Hunter, and he can just make this build fly. He's basically always holding down a vault and just making this build ridiculous. But as you can see here, we're at the RG, and he dies just like that. And this is T13 with 800 Paragon and suboptimal gear. I mean, yeah, my bow's ancient, but it's not rolled very well. Non-ancient quiver, non-ancient pants, non-ancient chest. I mean, a lot of stuff is non-ancient here and was put together just for the sake of this guide. So as you can see, guys, that was probably, what, a minute and a half at the most. So, I mean, you can see what the build is capable of. So last but not least here, guys, if you're on YouTube watching this video and you have any questions, please feel free to comment, or if I forgot something, just post a message or a comment down below. I will answer. I do all these videos in one take, so a lot of times I forget things, and I apologize in advance for that. So on top of that, if you're watching on Diablo fans and you have a question or comment, please just feel free to post a comment there. I will get back with you as quickly as I can with an answer. Yeah, so last but not least, the plugs are twitch.tv/GimStoreGaming. I will be streaming Season 12, going hard. So if you want to check out that, feel free to check me out there. The Twitter or the YouTube is youtube.com/GimStoreGaming. And then you can always catch updates on what I'm doing on Twitter at twitter.com/GimpStoreGaming. So, with that being said, guys, I hope you have a great time in season 12. And until next video, guys, peace. Have a good one.